My name is Tiffany Clun, and today I'm going to talk about what is return on investment in terms of instructional design and technology. So, first I want to start is what is the return on investment tool, or as I'll refer to it throughout this presentation, the ROI tool. The ROI tool takes the time, it draws on data and information on select efforts made towards instructional improvement that can be several different things within the educational world, the corporate world, um, anything to make improvement on someone's knowledge throughout their time there. It was developed on the proposed framework created by Jesse Brown and Martin Kurzweil, in which investments in instructional improvement efforts increase revenue. It also focuses on measurable instructional improvements that have high potential for yielding a positive ROI. And the general rule for an ROI is that you want the highest possible positive ROI for your investment. The higher percentage that you end up with, the higher ROI, the better improvement, the better investment that you've made in the training, the learning, the whatever it is that you've paid and put your investment in. ROI is presented as a formula and used as a formula. So I wanted to touch base on what that formula is and how we use it and how we calculate it. So your ROI formula is ROI, or return on investment, equals profit divided by investment times 100. The ROI itself is expressed as a percentage, so that's why we multiply that by 100 at the end of it, at that formula. So to break down this formula, the first thing we come to is profit. And your profit, there's a formula where you get your profit as well. Your profit equals return minus original investment. This profit isn't speaking on terms of money made through materials or services. This is in terms of learning, not company profit. It is actually measured by how much extra money will be made based on factors such as promotions, salary raise, or job change. When we talk about job change, that is a job that you can go and get based on this training that you received that will pay higher than what you were already making. The part of our equation or ROI formula is the investment. So your formula for your investment is investment equals direct cost plus opportunity cost. This is more than just the direct cost of the learning experience. To break it down a little bit, an example is for somebody who is wanting to study and get a 4-year degree in undergraduate school. So you want to study and get a degree. You're not just paying for the course fees, the living costs, etc. You're actually losing the chance, or giving up the chance to work a full-time job for those 3 to 4 years that it takes to complete that degree or those courses. Those 3 to 4 years that you lose are known as opportunity costs. These opportunity costs can actually often outweigh the cost of the learning experience itself. So it's very important to take that into consideration when taking the time to make your decision based on your learning opportunities. So these are some of the different design learning experiences that I've taken the time to place a focus on because these are the most common learning experiences that do take place. And I'll go over some of the calculations that might work within these concepts. But these are the 4 most common learning experiences that I kind of want to take the time to put some insight on. So your first is book learning. It is looked at as the more old-fashioned method nowadays. It's not as often that we use books, at least not physical books. It is a cheap and effective way to learn about something, and it's something that can be done on your own time and your own pace. There is a downside of book learning, and it's hard to persuade employers of the value that exists in the learning experience without some sort of certificate or pretty much just to prove that somebody knows their stuff. Um, your typical educational book costs around $50. Obviously, some can cost more, some can cost less. It depends on your situation. Um, there's no opportunity cost to book learning in most cases. It's something that is done in the spare time of employees. So you pay less of the opportunity cost in this case. In a lot of cases, the profit on book learning can be a little more minimal compared to others. It doesn't. This kind of translates over into the fact it doesn't lead to promotions. More commonly, it leads to annual pay raises, and it just shows that some of the employees may have learned more than their peers. That's about the most common existence for that. I'm not going to do this for each one, but for this first one, I'll do a little bit of calculations, an example that was given. So when we account for what $500 a year for 20 years is worth today, assuming a 3% decrease in value annually, which is roughly the rate of inflation, we find that the return on our $50 book is $7,707 in today's terms. So that's a profit of $7,707 minus 50, which ultimately turns out to be $7,657. So when we put all of our stuff into our ROI formula, you end up with 7,657 divided by $50 times 100, which comes out with a 15,314% ROI. So, although this book might not bring out a huge increase in salary, it can still raise us a good bit of money and raise our profit. So it turns out that book learning can be super profitable. Online learning is one of the biggest concepts that we use now. Technology is all around us. Super, super common, so easier for most people to use. The largest design specialist learning community that exists today is the Interaction Design Foundation. So that's the most commonly used one and the most commonly performed. So again, there's not much of an opportunity cost with online learning. A lot of times things can be completed 15, 20 minutes in a day, things like that. So the shorter time, a lot of the online courses do come with certificates of completion, and you can use those as your demonstration for learning and growth to your employers. Unlike book learning, there's nothing to show for other than your knowledge that comes from you, versus your online learning gives you the certificate, gives you something physical to present. And lastly, your classroom training, it can take it has a little bit more of an opportunity cost when it comes down to it, because a lot of time classroom training can take up to a week. A lot of times they're 7-day programs, so you take your opportunity cost of your 7-day program, the money you're not making, and you have to plug that in within your investment and with your ROI. It still proves to have an increase in profit. There's a little less of an increase in profit when it comes to classroom training and extensive classroom training. And finally, your university, that is one of your lower profits, simply because of the time and the money that goes into going to school and taking all that time to earn a degree. So ultimately, you are still seeing a profit. You worked all that time, you studied to get a job that pays more than what you were making during that time. So ultimately, you still see a profit, just a little less of one. And lastly, here are my references.